Hey, everybody, it is Whiskey Wednesday. That's right. It's the one time during the middle of the week that I can look forward to having a glass of whiskey, just sitting back and having some fun and reading some good stories and sharing that with you all, which is what this is about, right? It's all about... That got turned up really loud, so I'm probably really loud on there. Is that a little better? Is that a little better? Am I not, like, breaking up in your ear there? Just screaming at you for no reason? Hopefully that's okay. I, like, looked over and, like, the volume meter's, like, cranked. I don't know why. Yeah, like I was saying. So, the one day during the week, it's hump day, right? You gotta have something to kind of get you through the middle of the week, and why not have that be Whiskey Wednesday? Streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram Live, which it's kind of like a newer thing I've been trying out. I think it's working okay. There's a lot of automation features that I have in Twitch and YouTube that aren't on Instagram, but I promise if I can figure that out, I will. But we'll make do. All right. Thank you for joining me tonight. Fantastic story. I don't know if you can tell in the text there down below, but it's False Tidings by Stephen J. Grant. And I kind of gave it a once over, read the first couple pages of it, and it is fantastic so far. So I can't wait to finish the read with you all tonight. It's going to be good. A tale of adventure that we're just going to start, right? And like always, if you're looking at the chat box down below, there's a little bit of information about the book, about the author. I'm going to read you a little snippet about the author. And then there's a link, more importantly, to where you can pick up the book if you like what you hear tonight. I'm going to post that for you here in Instagram because it doesn't show up for you automatically. So that's the link to get the book if you want. And then there's the link to the author's website if you want to check out more of Stephen Grant's stuff. So let's read you a little bit about the author. Let me turn down the music just a little bit more and pull up the bio here. So Steve Grant is a retired IT professional living in the country of Berkshire in the UK. Berkshire in the UK with varying numbers of children, grandchildren, and dogs. He is married to an extraordinary, if shrinking, woman and is blessed in too many ways to count. He and his wife share a keen interest in all things Italian, having visited the countryside frequently and having spent countless holidays on the island of Sardinia. Very cool. Steve accidentally came into writing sometime after going into retirement, but therein lies another story. Email if you want to know more, he says. These days, he walks dogs, writes novels, and teaches English. It has been said of Steve, much like William, that he likes people, at least in theory. And then I left the website there down below if you want to read more about Stephen there. This is going to be delightful. I can't wait to share it with y'all. But this wouldn't be Whiskey Wednesday unless we were drinking some whiskey. You don't have to drink whiskey. You can drink whatever you want. You can drink water. You can have a hot chocolate. Doesn't matter. The point is sit back, relax, and enjoy some good tales. And if you want to partake in whiskey, then go for it. What are we drinking tonight? We're drinking this Mamba Jamba. Boom! Right there. As I show you the back of it. This is called Abasolo, and it is interesting. It's a whiskey from Mexico made with 100% ancestral corn. What does that mean? I don't know, but it tastes good. So that's all that matters, right? We had this. This is going to kind of be featured all month on the stream, so you're going to see it again, and it is tasty. It's got a kind of a sweet but peppery kind of vibe to it. It's really, I'm like holding it up to the mic so you can get a smell of it. Oh, it's so interesting. And like I was kind of saying on the last stream, as I give a little pour here on the pour cam, I've been trying to seek out stuff that's interesting that I don't normally have, that has interesting flavors, or at least like an interesting background, or like if you're ever curious, there is a whiskey, and I'm trying to remember the name now. It's something Ocean. Why is it leaving me? I should have that on stream. Maybe we'll do that next month. We'll see. But it's basically aged in barrels that are it's like on a ship. And that's how it's aged. So as the ship's like moving around and these barrels are kind of sloshing around and it's doing its thing, that's how it's aged, which is super cool. What is it called? It's got like a ship on it, and it's called Ocean something. Why can't I think of it? Let me do a quick Google foo. What is it called? There we go. Found it. Jefferson's Ocean. And so if you're ever curious, look into that. Google that one. Jefferson's Ocean. Really good whiskey too. But normally I'll drink stuff kind of like that, where it's a little on the sweeter side, and it's more of those kind of lighter notes. Maybe a little bit of smokiness. If it's a Scotch, maybe a little bit of that peaty flavor I'll mix in there every once in a while. Like good like Ardbeg or something like that. But this is way different than any of that. It is fantastic. Peppery, still a little sweet, but not as much as like those other things I mentioned. Nowhere close to like an Isla Scotch or anything, but that is super interesting. Really good. Highly recommend if you're looking for something that's just different. Pick up some Abasolo. There you go. I kind of picked it out because it's like Cinco de Mayo this month, trying to like pick out a theme for the whiskey for the month, and that's what I landed on. And actually, it is the most expensive bottle of whiskey I have purchased for the stream to date. Because when it arrived, it fell out of the bottom of the bag and shattered all over the floor, and I had to buy another bottle. So the bottle itself isn't too expensive, but I had to buy it twice. So there you go. Thanks again, everybody, for joining me on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Instagram Live as we try this whole multi-streaming thing. Tonight's Whiskey Wednesday, we're going to be reading here in just a second as I step over into the booth, False Tidings by Stephen J. Grant. So, anyways, I think, we should kill the music, and we should probably... My God,
are you still talking?
Yes, I'm still talking, but I'm going to talk more. I'm actually going to read when we get over into the booth, so join me over there. I'll see you there in just a second. Don't forget the whiskey. See you there. Yeah. All right, as I climb awkwardly into the booth. All right, here we go. I'm excited to read this to you all tonight. Really good story. There we go. All right, things are working so far. Let me make sure this is working. And then we'll talk a little bit. We got to do like the pre-stream stuff. Talk about the pre-read stuff, rather. Hopefully I'm coming in okay. That is staring at the wall for some reason. I don't know why. Where is my mouse cursor? That's what I'd like to know. Oh, just saw it. Where'd you go? There it is. Okay. I know how to do this. I've done this before. Don't worry about it. All right. Anyways. Okay. So, why is that looking at the ceiling? Look at me. Look at me. Me. You don't have to look up there. It's me you have to look at. All right? I don't know why that wants to move so much tonight, but I'll keep an eye on it. Just shout at me if it disappears again, and maybe I'll see it on the stream. Anyways, because we stream live on Twitch, they do a little thing called ad breaks. So every half hour, and on the hour, as it were, they do a little ad break because they love their ad break time. That means if you're on Twitch, you'll miss part of the read. Unless, like I'm going to do, I'm going to stop for a little bit. We're just going to shoot the breeze, if you will, enjoy our whiskey for about 1 minute and 30 seconds, or however long the ad break's going to take, just so those on Twitch don't miss anything. And then when the ad break's over, we'll resume reading our chapter. Now, another thing people like to do, and I didn't see my mod get in here yet, but he loves to play this game, where you can keep me accountable on the stream. Let me reset that real quick. If I mess up, if I flub, you can keep me accountable on Twitch and YouTube by typing in exclamation point FLUB for flub, and it'll add a flub to the counter. Now, my mod likes to play a drinking game along with that because it is Whiskey Wednesday. I will just forewarn you, drink responsibly, because sometimes I mess up a lot. So, switch to water. Nobody will know, Nobody will know. It's okay. All right. We will jump into the read here in just a second. All right. Make sure everything's up and running. It looks like it's okay. If I'm coming in too quiet or too loud, let me know, and I can adjust that on the fly. But otherwise, looks like we're good. All right. Let me get a quick little sip of water. And we'll start this thing. False Tidings by Stephen J. Grant. This will be Chapter 1. Okay. All right. Chapter 1. The castle loomed out of the thin mist as one lone oarman strained against the current, the only sounds being those of the rower grunting in exertion and the splosh of the oars as they sliced into and out of the brittle water. From William's position in the boat's prow, the sheer scale of the slab-gray edifice perched upon a high crag above the town of Ebury meant it looked to be menacing the tiny haphazard dwellings below. The castle's most striking feature, a single, slender, ice-kissed tower, poked out of the gloom, soaring above uneven lines of severe granite blocks. Many said it most resembled a gnarled middle digit extending out of a clenched upturned fist, an exhortation for any approaching army to return whence it came. To William, at that early hour, it was a finger that beckoned him toward his future, a future for which his learning, he at least wanted to believe, had amply prepared him. Thoughts of recent events tempered his mood of light optimism, the sadness of his father's passing, his consequent ejection from the monastery, and, more than anything else, a sense of concern for Verity, the girl he'd left behind. He instinctively reached to stroke his patchy beard, its presence still unfamiliar, before a voice at his shoulder pulled him back into the moment. "What are you here for, then, my lovely?" asked his only traveling companion, a round, rosy-cheeked, middle-aged woman, cloaked from head to toe in heavy wool. "I'm sorry," said William, turning to face her. "You seems a mite nervous to me. Don't worry, can't be all that bad. I'm Eileen Spey, housekeeper to the Earl. And you are?" "I'm William Gray." "Is that so?" She looked him up and down. "You're a nice enough-looking boy, William Gray. Tall. Is that blonde hair you've been hiding under that cap? And I bet all the girls love your dimples. I'd perhaps loose the beard. It looks a lot like a lost rabbit." She chuckled at her own joke. Don't worry. I'm not going to bite you." She smiled. "Where do you hail from, then?" "Coxwell. Do you know it?" "Isn't there a monastery there? You don't look like no monk." "I'm an apprentice messenger. I was told to report to Anthony Ackroyd. Do you know him?" She chuckled again. "The famous aunt. Course I knows him. I works for him. He's the Earl's steward, his right-hand man. Runs the castle for him and a lot more besides." "Aunt? Why such a strange name?" She smiled. "Oh, it's just what they calls him, love. You'll soon see why." The boat followed a bend in the river, where a cottage stood in a clump of trees, and he caught a waft of wood smoke and damp leaves. Near the opposite bank, the ripples generated by the boat rustled the tall rushes, a lone gray heron wading between them. Before he could take anything in more, the boat bumped a narrow jetty below, and the overhang of the Try that again. Before he could take in anything more, the boat bumped a narrow jetty below the overhang of the castle, and a man approached to tie it off.
"Hail, friend,"
said the boatman to the figure, handing over the end of a rope.
"Be it fresh this morrow."
He blew into his hands for warmth and stamped his feet on the bottom of the boat.
"Aye, 'tis that. Proper chilblain weather."
The jettyman turned to address William's fellow passenger and continued.
"Good morrow, Mistress Spey. Welcome back. Give me your hand."
She stood, and the jettyman helped her step off the boat. William's gaze switched from this exchange to the dark mass of castle above.
"How on earth do we get up there?"
he asked to anyone that would listen.
"Follow me, my lovely,"
called Eileen. She walked the short distance to the end of the walkway and grabbed at something hanging there. William followed.
"What, up this?"
He pointed at the narrow ladder.
"Unless you can fly, young William. Come on."
Behind them, the resumed splashing of oars told him the boat had already left. No chance of going back, then. Eileen gave her bag to the jettyman, who tied the handle to a cord and hoisted it out of view. Then she lifted her skirt above her plump gray stockinged ankles and descended, her feet disappearing nimbly above. The man nodded upwards.
"Now you, young master. What's your name?"
"William. Will to my friends." William looked at the ladder.
How high is it?" "Only a couple 100 feet, Mr. Will to my friends. You'll be up there before you know it."
William balked. Surely they didn't expect.
"Stop dithering, man. We don't have all day. Give me your bag and get on with it. The sooner you start."
"Right. Thanks. Mind, it's heavy."
"Son and moons, you're not kidding,"
said the man, for a moment unbalanced.
"What's in this thing?"
"Books, mostly, and a few clothes." William turned to the ladder and got started. He soon wished he'd worn something more sensible, as his mittened hands struggled to cling on, and his boots slipped on the wet rungs. The first part went well enough, but then the ladder bowed under his weight and twisted back on itself.
"Mubble fubbles,"
he cursed, as his bag whizzed by close to his head. Shame they couldn't have hoisted him up as well. 187 rungs later, he stepped a little breathless onto a narrow wooden platform, not much wider than a cart. At one end, a bridge arched out over the river, its far reaches indistinct in what remained of the mist. Of course, there had to be other ways to reach the castle for carts and marching armies and so forth, although he supposed it inaccessible from the water. At the near end, the platform curved out of view, hugging the rock wall. William unhooked his bag from the pulley and shuffled along close to the rock face, keen to stay well clear of the drop on the other side. He followed the deck around and stood facing an imposing ironclad gate a dozen paces wide. A psst coming from the wicket gate off to the side drew his attention. Eileen stood there, beckoning him.
"Come on, William Gray. It's this way, my lovely."
Stepping through the wicket, a stocky, helmeted man blocked their way.
"State your names and business," he said.
"You know full well who I am, young man,"
said his companion.
"It's the rules, Mistress Spey. Aunt's orders."
"You've just given me my name, you dolt. Really?"
The man shrugged in embarrassment.
"Fair enough. And you?"
he asked William.
William Gray,
apprentice messenger? Are you asking me or telling me?" He paused for the briefest of moments, thrust out his chin, and answered,
"I'm to meet Anthony Ackroyd."
The man looked William over and shook his head.
"Well, now, can't see you lasting long here. Yes, Master Ackroyd warned us to expect you."
Addressing someone out of sight, he called,
"Two in coming through." Right-o, this way, came the answer.
Another guard opened a second door and gestured for them to pass into a courtyard beyond. They continued up a flight of steps, through a second gatehouse, and then out into a bailey or open area, at the end of which stood the squat keep of the castle. Above this, the castle's tower reached through the mist, forcing William to crane his neck to take it all in. The guard nodded.
Impressive close up, eh? The Earl's father had it built 30 years hence.
Did he keep atop it a fair princess waiting rescue by her prince?
No, just his pigeons. Proper shot everywhere they did. Come on, the great hall's through here. I'll let Master Ackroyd know you've arrived.
In William's mind, the great hall was where he'd find a huge fire roaring in the grate, minstrels playing in the gallery, and the Earl himself presiding over the important business of the county. Instead, he stood shivering and alone while he waited for Anthony Ackroyd to appear. He took in the austerity of the plain vaulted ceiling, the absence of artwork, the unadorned whitewash on the walls, and a layer of frosting covering the high, narrow slits that passed for windows.
"Good morrow, William,"
said a voice, approaching from behind. He turned to view the new arrival, a wiry, balding man, a full head shorter than himself.
Master Ackroyd?
He asked.
The very same. I hope you had a pleasant journey. From Coxwell, is that right? I knew your father. How is he, may I inquire?
Well, he died last week. He'd not been himself for a long time. How did you know each other?
We both enrolled to become priests. It seems like a lifetime ago. Yes. We were good friends, Harold and I. Sorry for your loss.
He looked wistful for a moment.
Come this way. We have a room above ready for you. Not so much a room, more of a closet, but at least you don't have to share with anyone. Just the one bag?
Yes, for now. When will I carry my first message?
Ant shook his head and frowned.
I'm afraid it won't be for some time. It won't be some time before the Earl trusts you with anything important. In this castle, everyone starts at the bottom.
Moons and stars, seriously? That wasn't what he wanted to hear.
But I was hoping to prove myself by the spring, if not sooner.
Ackroyd raised an eyebrow.
By this spring, indeed. That's a show of admirable ambition. But not, alas, how it works here. There are 5 other messengers on the staff, all senior to yourself. You must understand, the role of an apprentice starts with spells in each of the main tasks of the castle. There are the kitchens, the stables, the armory, the porters. Don't look so glum. You'll get your chance soon enough.
He led William through a great door at the rear of the hall, past a row of enormous portraits of grand, austere-looking men in military costumes, stags' heads hanging on the walls.
I'll keep you away from His Grace for now. He is, how can I put it, a robust man. He says what he thinks, doesn't suffer fools, and so forth. An acquired taste, some might say.
As Ackroyd scurried ahead, it struck William how right Eileen had been. The man bore an uncanny resemblance to an actual ant. From his brown complexion, his head sweeping from side to side as he scanned the room, from the tufts of dark hair peeking up like antennae over his ears on an otherwise naked crown, and from the wiry limbs that jutted out from his body as he navigated his habitat, stopping ever so often as though to sniff the air for anything out of place that might require his intervention. After climbing several flights of steps, Ackroyd opened a door halfway along a corridor and motioned for William to enter. It really was no more than a closet, barely allowing for one man to fit into the space alongside the straw mattress.
Where can I put my books? Asked William.
What?
You know, books with words.
Yes, I know what a book is. Thank you very much. Continue like that and I'll have you flogged, regardless of how well I knew your father. Under the sleeping roll for now? I only brought 20 with me. The rest should follow next week, but I'm not so sure where I can put them. We could add a new wing to the castle to house your collection. Would that be to your liking? And pregnant sows might float over our heads.
He wafted a slender hand around in the air to convey the idea.
Enough of this. I haven't got all day, you know.
Back down the stairs, Aunt led William to a small room off the great hall.
This is where you can usually find me, he said.
A spot-riddled page approached with a bundle of clothes.
Ah, thank you, good lad.
He dismissed the page with a nod.
Now, here's your apprentice messenger uniform. My much-beloved wife designed it. Yes, sorry about that. She can be very insistent. Anyway, make sure you put it on right. I'm a stickler for detail, you know.
He shuffled some papers on his desk, then stopped and turned to face William.
Well, why are you still standing there? Am I to dress you myself, boy? Shoo! Get changed. Then report to Mistress Spee.
William spun on his heel and hurried away. He couldn't afford to get off on the wrong foot with this ant fellow. And that is the end of Chapter 1. So, hopefully, you enjoyed that as much as I did. Short read tonight, but that's okay. I think it gives us a pretty good introduction into William here and his new abode and why he's there. If you liked it, I'll put this in the chat for YouTube and Twitch again. And when I get back to the desk, I'll put the link in there for you on Instagram. I just noticed on Instagram you're keeping me accountable there, Tim. I appreciate it. Add one to the flub counter. There we go. We'll add one and two. And you know what? We'll just add 3, 4, 5. How about that? Because I know there were quite a few in there. No, this was really good. I really like this. And I want to read more. I want to find out what happens next. So anyways, I'm going to go back to the desk. We're going to talk for a little bit. And, you know, since you're here, how about I let you listen to maybe something that's coming up here soon that I'll be starting on. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. So let me meet you back at the desk, and we'll go from there. See you in just a second. Yeah. I need like, oh, that means the ad break's coming up, but we're going to skip that because we don't need ad breaks around here. We don't need that. I'm going to skip it. Oh, good whiskey tonight. Hopefully you're enjoying something and sitting back and relaxing, and hopefully you enjoyed the first chapter of the story that we just read. Daniel Georgiev has joined us in Instagram. How's it going there? By the way, Daniel has a really fantastic book as well that you should check out. Matt's Magica. Check that out on Amazon and all the places that you can purchase your books. And maybe, just maybe, there might be an audiobook version coming out here soon. Whenever the editor gets done with it, tells me all the stuff I've messed up, and we fix that, and then it'll be out. So it'll be out here soon. Super good book as well if you're into fantasy and magic, where magic kind of has this combination of math and science, and the world building is fantastic. It was a super fun read, and it's just one of those like things that I got super lucky that Daniel actually approached me to do the audiobook, because it's a book that I liked, you know, like it's one of those things. Sometimes you might not like every book you read, but Daniel's book, fantastic. Anyways, you should pick that up. And if you're interested, pick up False Tidings by Stephen Grant here. Another book that will be coming out here soon is I recently put out The Second Bride.
And that's a story of kind of angels and demons. And our main character, Cain, that Cain from Cain and Abel, if you remember that kind of biblical story, is he lives for pretty much ever now, as kind of a punishment for what he did, if you remember, striking down his brother. And now in modern times, he's become a private investigator, and he helps out with cases of the supernatural that deal with angels and demons. Well, the third book will be coming out here soon in audio form. And maybe I'll give you a little sneak peek of it here, so that you can kind of listen to maybe the first chapter. And we can go from there, as we're finding a channel to send you all to on at least Twitch here to go to another reader, maybe. But maybe first we'll check into that. So without further ado, maybe I'll pull that up and we'll just listen to at least maybe part of the first chapter, maybe the whole thing. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll go from there. All right. Since you're all joining me, and I appreciate it, give you a little sneak peek. All right. Okay, hopefully this comes through. Let me make sure. It's kind of impromptu, if you couldn't tell. Okay.
The Third Mark, The Wanderer Series, Book 3, by Kurt Dyer, narrated by Justin Fife.
Ooh.
Chapter 1. 13 months to the day we'd returned to a somewhat normal existence, I received word that a sign of the apocalypse had been discovered. 2 very distinct marks were appearing on the foreheads and the back of hands of people in various locations throughout the world. One mark believed to be the mark of the beast, and the other, the mark of God. As there had yet to be any other signs indicating the end of the world was coming sooner rather than later, I thought perhaps this might be something to investigate. The first indication of either sign appeared in Israel, so Israel was my first stop. I think perhaps I should explain a little more of what I'm talking about. In the book of Revelations of the King James Version of the Christian Bible, signs of what to look for during the end times were provided to the world by means of prophecies, visions, and through the Word of God, as passed down by the Good Shepherd himself, Jesus Christ. Though many of these signs have been seen throughout the world many times over the centuries, what has yet to be seen during any moment in history were the marks which identified the true believers and followers of Christ from those who gave themselves over to the purest evil the world has yet to see in the form of the beast. That was, until now. I know by now you're probably wondering who I am and how in the world I would know any of this. Perhaps you're thinking I, myself, am a prophet, or maybe even a priest tasked with spreading the holy word as so many had before. You would be wrong, of course. I am probably the last person you would even imagine to be a follower of the word, though, believe it or not, I had been, long before Christ was manifest to step foot on this mortal plane. I was, well, I suppose I still am, the first son of the first man created by God. I have been wandering this earth longer than any man, creature, or entity throughout history. In fact, though I haven't been on this world since its creation, I have been on this earth longer than there is any measure of time currently available. How could this be, you ask? Simple. I use the term wandering rather than walking for a reason, as that is what I have been called more often than any name throughout history. Though I do have many of them, I am known as the vagabond, the vagrant, the criminal, and to every supernatural, preternatural, ethereal, demonic, and celestial being out there, I am known as the Wanderer. My true name is Cain. That's right, the Cain.
Pause real quick. Thank you for the follow there. I appreciate it there. VS Ripper? Hopefully I got that right. Anyways, as I butcher your name on Twitch, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And thanks for the words of encouragement. We're just kind of listening to an audiobook that will be coming out soon, the introduction to book 3 in the series. So I'll resume it here in a little bit, and then we'll pass it off to another read and streamer, if we will.
blessed, or cursed, however you wish to look at it, to wander this world for eternity, or for however long God the Creator chooses. Punished for a crime that I most assuredly committed, though I wish every day that I could take that one decision, that one mistake back. I am compelled by the mark placed on my forehead to never be allowed to settle in one place. I could take a wife for a time, have a family even, but eventually, inevitably, I would be forced to move on. The mark, however, is more than just a means of forcing me to wander the earth. It's also a shield against anyone and everyone who would do me harm. It is powered through the Almighty Himself, and knows when my life is in danger and acts accordingly to prevent my death. If a man wishes me harm, and through his intentions attempts to act on those thoughts, the mark will punish him sevenfold, or, in layman's terms, 7 times worse than his thought or intention of harm toward me. For quite some time, the mark was visible on my forehead by anyone who looked upon my face, meant to warn others of the fate that could befall them should they choose the path I had, as well as to urge people to keep their distance. Eventually, the mark faded from the eyes of man, only to remain visible to those of the supernatural world. Over the years, I have gone by many names, lived many lives, as I like to refer to them. However, for the last 4 decades, I have used the name Jerusalem Cain, Salem, for short. In that time, I took on the profession of a private investigator, which allowed me the freedom to put down roots in one location, yet still satisfy the mark's desire for me to wander. Though for years I had chosen not to take a side in the battle between good and evil, but something happened that changed all that. I'll go into that a little later, but needless to say, I dedicated myself to the task of eliminating evil from this world. I choose to use the mark to my advantage, to turn my curse against those who would cause harm to the human race into something positive. Only later would I learn that what I believed to be a curse for much of my life was actually a blessing. The Gulfstream G700 landed in Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, at 6 o'clock the following morning. As the door opened, I stepped onto the tarmac with Emily directly behind me. Emily was once the second bride of Samael, also known as Lucifer to the mundane. I sort of took her from the devil, which still infuriates him to this day, though over a year has passed. Emily's true name is Eshet Zenunium, and she is a succubus, or rather a demon of sexual desire. She is long-lived, as I am, but that's not to say that she cannot be killed, only that it would take a lot of effort to do so. You may be asking yourself how I came to take a bride from the devil. Well, let's just say I fulfilled needs that he couldn't. Some of those needs she didn't even know she had until she became bonded to me.
"I don't see anything out of the ordinary," she said, coming to stand beside me.
We should find one of these people who has a mark on their forehead or hand.
Where should we start?
You should start at the site of the Wailing Wall, came a voice from behind us. Turning, I looked at the door of the plane to find the Archangel Michael standing there. Michael was dressed in a nice 3-piece white suit, complete with a white button-down shirt and a silver and white striped tie. He's appeared in this dress a few times over the years. He believes it's a means of looking inconspicuous among the mortals. He doesn't realize it only makes him stand out all the more, depending on the environment.
"Why the Wailing Wall?" I asked. "Are these marks real, or are they someone's idea of forcing Armageddon?"
Though the mark of the beast can be placed on individuals through any means they choose, the mark of God can only be placed by the Creator or His messenger, and there is a select number of them dictated to be dispersed," Michael said.
"His messenger?"
asked Emily.
"Yes, Gabriel,"
Michael said, as though that should have been obvious.
"Gabriel is the messenger of God?" I asked.
"Of course," he said. "You knew this, Wanderer. Why are you acting as though you do not?" I'm just confirming. I raised my hands in mock surrender. Has Gabriel been dispatched to mark Christ's people? I do not know the will of God, Michael said. Only what he commands. Is that a no? It is, and I do not know. The Wailing Wall, it is then.
There you go. And there's a sneak peek of the third book in the Wanderer series called The Third Mark. Super excited to jump into that one too. Tons of stuff probably coming out this month and next month in terms of audiobooks. So I'll be keeping you all updated and letting you know for sure. Stuff was going on like during the read, so you like saw me typing on Twitch and stuff. Things I forgot that you could even do on Twitch because it's been so long since any of that stuff was set up. But no worries. It was kind of cool to see all this like stuff floating around the screen. Thank you so much, Steve, for the compliment on the voice and the accents there. If I would have known you were here earlier, I would have been really nervous about that. Steve, if you don't know, Steve Corona is the master at accents. I regularly jump onto this app called Clubhouse, and he does some kind of live narration there. He's working on a lit RPG right now, and I can't remember the name of the series. If you remember, put that into YouTube for me and make sure that people know where to go to get it. But holy crap, like I learn so much every time I listen to anybody narrate, but I learn a lot when I listen to Steve, like when it comes to like accents and like characters and just like portrayal of not only the accent, but like the acting therein, like of the character. So fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff. Anyways, just giving you a little sneak peek and hit me up with the name of that thing. Master of the Towers. Check that out. Steve Corona. The audiobooks of the other ones are available already. So check those out. They are fantastic if you're into lit RPG. Steve is one of the masters of that genre, I would say. Hey, thanks for stopping by there, VS Ripper. You're going to take off. I'll see you later. Thanks for stopping by. And again, what we read tonight was False Tidings by Stephen J. Grant. If you're interested, check out the links down below. Pick yourself up a copy if you want to know what happens next, because I know I do. Might have to pick up a copy just to find out what happens, right? And add it to my pile of stuff I have to get through. All my fun pile, right? You have like your fun pile of stuff that you want to read. It's a huge and growing pile of a bunch of books that are in there that I've read like first chapters of, and now I want to read the rest, right? It's a nice problem to have, right? Nice problem to have. Anyways, I think that'll about do it for the stream. Book 1 is out already. Let me go back right before we end. Master of the Towers. Book 1 is out already, and Steve is now working on book 2, which is what I've been hearing him narrate. Definitely go pick that up. I got a little like sneak peek of the first one as he was narrating some of that one live too, and the characters are so good. I think the barbarian warrior is one of my favorite characters. She's something else. Anyways, pick it up. It's great. And we are going to probably end it here on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining me on YouTube if you're there. Have a great night. Have a great rest of your Whiskey Wednesday. Maybe finish off that glass, if you will. And we'll see you next time. Next time I'll be streaming is probably 6 p.m. PST Monday for Macabre Monday, where I'm reading some short horror stories or scary stories. I just started narrating for, I already narrate for theotherstories.net, a podcast. But another podcast was looking for a narrator to do short horror stories. So I'm going to see if I can maybe narrate one of those stories as well, because there are some good stories there as well that I'd love to share with you all. And if not, I'll just tell you where the podcast is and you can check that out, right? But anyway, so Monday, 6 p.m. PST, Macabre Monday. And then I will not be doing Whiskey Wednesday next week. I have to move it to the following week. My son has a band performance that happens on a Wednesday, so I'm going to go to that instead. I'm sorry. But we'll resume the following Wednesday with Whiskey Wednesday. But Macabre Monday, check it out if you're into the short horror stories, or the short scary stories, if you were. Yeah, and I'll see you then. So, on YouTube, see you later. Good night. And if you're on Instagram, I'm also going to cut it here because it won't make sense if we go raid a channel on Twitch.